Hi and welcome back to the series of tutorials about Oracle Jet. In this video we will be learning about the CSS utility classes that Oracle Jet provides us to implement a responsive design in our application and also to help us maintain a consistent design system across all of our application. So let's start by checking what are the CSS utility classes that Oracle Jet provides us. If we go to the cookbook in the section about framework, we will see uh, one panel that says CSS utilities and CSS variables. So if we open both of those, we will see that we have CSS utility classes for adding colors, for adding divisors, uh, for working with flex layout and grid layout, uh, some more specific layout CSS utility classes, classes for adding margin and padding to our components, also for managing the font, or more specifically the font weights and all regarding the text, and also for sizing. And the CSS variables, we'll see that, this is in maintenance, but there are some variables for having different versions of the components, and also for theming the application uh, app-wide, whatever. So the ones we're interested in the most are these ones. Uh, so in Oracle Jet, you don't really need to write much CSS. I mean, you can do it if you want to add styles to a component. You don't need to go to the styles folder and add a style sheet for every single component that you have in your application. You can create the style sheet inside your component folder and import it from your component. In fact, it's really simple. You just import it as we did the with the JSON. You just import a file and uh, you add this prefix to your file path css dot this, and we could import, for example, style.css if we had a style sheet inside of our component folder, and this will apply all the classes to the elements inside of this file. But as I mentioned, you don't need to write your CSS from scratch. You can just grab the utility classes from the Oracle Jet cookbook. And this is really helpful because in some way it limits the way in which you can style your components, which may sound like not such a good thing the first time you hear it. But if you think about it, these limitations ensure that you maintain a consistent design across all of your application. And they also provide some utilities, some functionalities already pre-built into them. Uh, for example, if we go check the grid layout, we will see that we have classes to assign various widths to a component or to an element, depending on the screen size. So some of the classes already have, you could say that they already have media queries already built into them, which is really helpful because you don't need to define different styles for every single media query. I mean you do, but the only thing you need to do is add more classes to your component. For example, here, let me show you. Uh, when you have elements inside an OJFlex component, or a component that has the OJFlex class, which is a Oracle utility class for using a Flex container, uh, you can assign the width of that container, or the width of the elements inside of that container, uh, based on a 12 column grid system. So for example, if you want your component or your element to take 4 spaces of those 12 columns, you just need to add the class OJ SM, which represents the screen size in which you want to apply this class, and the width of the number of columns you want this element to occupy. And another important thing is that the priority in which these styles are assigned based on the size uh, is based on the size of the screen. So, for example, if we have an SM variable or class like this will be applied uh, on all the screen sizes that are equal to the SM size or bigger than the SM size. And if there's an OJSM and a OJMD class, uh, the one that will be applied will be the one that's corresponding to the current screen size. So it's SM or bigger, MD or bigger, LG or bigger, or XL or bigger. That's how they are applied. So we're gonna be using these layout grid utility classes to make our application more responsive, because if you look at it right now, I mean, it looks fine because all the components inside OracleJet maintain the same design system. Uh, but you can see that there's a lot of empty space here, and if we just shrink the screen, the layout doesn't really changes. I mean, the layout for the OJ chart changes, but because it has a responsive design already integrated, but the rest of the application just stays there and just shrinks. And when we expand it, it doesn't utilizes the screen size very effectively. It just keeps the same. So for that, we're gonna be using the CSS utility classes, the ones related to the flexbox and the uh, grid layout system. So if we go back to the application that we were building before, let's just first remove some console logs that just stay there because we forgot to delete them. And let's also add some grid lines to this list of elements, because it looks a little bit, yeah, it doesn't look that good, right? So let me just add another property to our OJ list view called grid lines, and this takes an object with the item parameter. And I think if we add the visible attribute, this should show the grid lines. Oh, another important thing is that there are some utility classes like the ones related to text. Uh, for example, here in the list item layout, in the examples about the list view, uh, we can see that we have specific classes related to a component. For example, we have the OJ typography MD, OJ text color primary, and for example, sometimes for the icons, when you want to add icons to something like a button, you do that through a class. For example, if you want to add the home icon to a button in the slot for the icon, you just set the class to oj-ux-eco-home, and it will add the add the icon inside that element as well. So that's another important thing to consider. If you want to add icons, most of the times you will be doing it by adding classes to a template slot. In this case, I'm just gonna grab these classes for the main text and the secondary text of a list item template, and add them to our component just to make it look a little bit better. So here we can see that we have the OJ typography body SM and the text color to secondary. So you already have predefined style for secondary text, primary text, body text, and all that stuff. And look at it. Now the primary text is different to the secondary text, and it is pretty clear which one is which. So let's go back to the grid and the flex layout utility classes. So I think in this case, what we would like to do is to divide our screen into sections when it is large enough. So we have the graph and the select single element in one side and the details about the table in another side. So for that, I think that we can wrap our page inside an OJFlex container. So in the class name attribute, we're just gonna add the OJFlex class, and this should change the way our components are displayed. Or at least it should change it once we add more classes to each component. So we want these two components, the select single and the OJ chart, to be grouped. So let's make another container for them. Put them there. Give me a minute. So now they are inside this div, and if we save it, yeah, you see the layout of our application just changed. And let's also, well, I think this can be its own div because it's just one element, so this is fine. So let's add more utility classes to this element. So for example, here we can add the OJFlex item utility class to tell the element to take as most space of the flex container he can. So you see that it was a little bit shrink before, and now it's all expanded until this reaches its minimum width. And if we add this class to both of our components, you will notice that each one of them pretty much uses half the screen. See, it's half and another half. But if we try to shrink it, you will see that, it wraps it once these components do not fit in the width of the screen. But we would probably want them to shift the layout a little bit before. For example, in this screen size, I think it would be better for our application to shift the layout so the graph is on top and the list of details is on the bottom. So to do that, we would use the grid layout utility classes to set our container as a grid. Uh, so if we go back to our code, uh, we can tell this this element to be or to use the full width of the screen from the MD size onwards. So if we check the utility classes, the way we do that is with the class OJMD-12, and we also want it to be full size on the SM size. But once it reaches the OJ large size, we want it just to be half the width of the screen. So now that we're on a large size, we see that it is half and half. But if we reach the medium size, it already shifts the layout, and it keeps this layout for the SM size, for the small size, and for the medium size. And once it reaches the large size, it uses half the screen and half the screen. So yeah, this is how you make, or well, this is how you integrate responsive design to your application using CSS utility classes. And I hope this tutorial was useful for you. And as always, thank you for your attention. Bye bye.